We are set for tonight's main event here in Las Vegas, Nevada. A couple of former world champions will square off in a 10-round featherweight bout. We'll get a look at Junior Jones and Tracy Harris Patterson. These two have combined to win a total of 4 titles in their career. And this is a crossroads fight for these two, very important. And these two guys are very familiar with each other on many levels. Let's take a closer look at the combatants in tonight's main event. Since turning pro in 1985, Tracy Harris Patterson has had a very solid career with 62 wins. In fact, he's a former 2-time world champion. Patterson has squared off against tough competition and has been successful at every turn. Tonight he must get past Brooklyn's Junior Jones, who has 46 wins and 27 knockouts, also a former 2-time world champion. The normally tranquil Tracy Harris Patterson has a very bold prediction for tonight.
I normally don't say this, but in my gut, I feel that, yes, he's going out. And I feel like he have to go out. I just don't think that he can take the kind of pressure that I'm going to apply on him.
My best thing is the box guys. And sometimes I get low on the brawls, and I get low on the brawls, I lose focus, and I just think about punching itself. And I'm not thinking about, the other guy throwing back. So I think, brawls is what haunts me. So I think me getting the brawls is not the smartest thing in the world. I think my thing is the box guys, and my power and my knockouts come naturally for boxing.
These two men have known each other for a long time. In fact, they consider each other close friends. But tonight, it's make or break.
It's a crossroads fight. It's a fight that the winner goes on, the loser at the end of the day.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to win the fight. And that's my mindset going into the fight. And that's all there is to it. I like Junior Jones. Matter of fact, I love Junior Jones like a brother, but tonight I'm going to try to take his head off.
Junior Poison Jones is in the ring, getting set for tonight's main event against Tracy Harris Patterson. Patterson has also worked his way into the ring as well. Well, it is a very intriguing fight tonight, Teddy, and Junior Jones is the taller guy, and he has the reach, and he has to use that to his advantage to be successful because he doesn't want to brawl.
Yeah, this is a simple fight, really. It breaks down to style. It's pretty simple. And to physics. The taller guy, Junior Jones, and not the big guy either. He has to stay on the outside, use that jab, look to make Tracy make mistakes. Tracy, the bigger guy, used to be a junior lightweight,
Now, Jones can get wide, though, and that can benefit Patterson, correct?
Yeah, and Patterson's strength is that he's a good sharpshooter, as we've shown on that film. He can really pot shot in between wide shots. So he hopes the taller guy gets a little bit hook happy, and he starts throwing some wide shots, and Tracy can use his strength and get inside those wide shots. Also, Tracy would like to be inside, period.
All right, well, that's something we'll look for in tonight's main event. There is Tracy Harris Patterson, and Patterson, 34 years of age, weighed in at 126.5 pounds, and Patterson is 62, 6-1 with 43 knockouts. Patterson, a former 2-time world champion. Tracy Harris Patterson getting set for tonight's main event. And Junior Jones, 28 years of age, out of Brooklyn, New York, weighed in at 126.5 pounds as well. Junior Jones, for his career, has a record of 46-4 with 27 knockouts. Former WBA bantamweight champion and former WBO junior featherweight champion of the world.
Introducing the former bantamweight champion of the world, Junior Poison
So Junior Jones and Tracy Patterson have been introduced. Let's take a look at the rules as governed by the state of Nevada. 3 knockdown rule in effect, no standing 8 count. Fighter can be saved by the bell in the final round only. Accidental cuts, they'll go to the scorecards after 3 rounds are complete. Referee is Kenny Bayless. We're joined here at ringside by Lou Duva. Lou, you've known these two guys for a long time. New York area guys. What do you see as a key in this fight?
I want to see how much both of them got left. You can only tell that after the first couple rounds, They've been around, both of them been around. They both can punch, they both can box, they both want to fight. This is a grudge match between these two. As much as they love each other, it's still a good grudge fight. It's a great fight for the fans to see out there.
Junior Jones, in his 4 losses, has been knocked out all 4 times. Eric Morales got him, Kennedy McKinney got him, John Johnson got him. in his career, so that's something that we'll have to watch for. Both of these guys have been down on the ring mat.
And Bob, look for Jones to be the fastest starter. Tracy Patterson usually takes a little bit of time to start to set the tempo and set the pace, because he's a guy who's looking to come forward, looking to set up counter punches. And Jones, of course, with that good jab, a little bit more speed, can start a little faster out of the box.
Patterson's 43 knockouts, 24 of them within the first 3 rounds. Patterson coming off the longest layoff of his career, 9.5 months. He last fought on January the 29th. Split decision against Russell Jones. Patterson had to rally late. Supposed to fight in June, but his opponent tested for hepatitis, so that bout was canceled. And Lou, when a guy is that much of a veteran as Patterson, obviously he's got all the skills, but when you have that long layoff, can it hurt him, even though he knows all the tricks?
Yes, except if he's a good athlete, and if he's the boxer I think he is, and I got the greatest respect for him. He was in the gym all that while. He was, I mean, he wasn't just sitting down and blowing up to 150 pounds and all that. He was in the thing. In fact, when he started out, he was, I think he was only a couple pounds over, Matt Howard told me. So he's in shape.
Well, you can see the setup of this fight, guys. Junior Jones, the taller guy. The guy who's really the smaller guy. He's been a bantamweight most of his career. Of course, Tracy Patterson was as big as a junior lightweight and a featherweight champion. So Patterson, a little bit of the bigger, solider guy. Jones wants to stay out on the outside, use that jab, and make Patterson make mistakes. And Patterson wants to try to get inside. I think Patterson needs to use that jab to take Jones' jab away a little bit.
Well, I think, like you said before, Teddy, I mean, he's a slow starter, but he's got to start a little faster, because if not, I think Jones is going to be boxing his ears off around the ring. In order for him to start throwing combinations, he's got to get close to him.
I think it's very important that Tracy doesn't look just for the pot shots. He's a real good sharpshooter, Tracy Patterson. But he should use that jab to try to take away the jab a little bit of Jones. He looks just for the right hand, like he did there. He may leave himself a little bit open. But one of the fortes of Patterson is to look for that right hand inside the hook or over the jab of Jones. Patterson likes to look to spots, but while he's looking for spots, he can be outboxed a little bit.
Yes.
And that's what's happening right now, Lou.
Yes, he's got that left hand going, and you'll see, all of a sudden he'll go to his right side, away from Patterson's right hand.
Closing seconds of this first round scheduled for 10. Junior Jones says when he has his focus, he uses his jab, he boxes, and as long as he doesn't get in a brawl, he says no problem with Patterson. Jabs in round number 1. Well, Jones pumped out 45 jabs. He only landed 5. Patterson was 0 for 8 in the jab category. So right now, Jones working his game plan.
Break.
Lou, how does Patterson make this more of a brawl? How does he get Jones off his game plan?
What I see him doing, he's stepping on the side too much. I'd like to see him go forward. If he's going to get close to him, he's got to go forward. He can't keep going on side to side, because see the jab that Junior Jones got? He's got a good jab, and he'll keep him on the outside. So he's got to walk in a little more.
There's 2 ways to take away a jab. You know that, Lou. One way is for Tracy to use his own jab, to slip a little bit from the taller guy and slip inside that tall jab and use his own jab, or to counter with right hands over the jab.
He's got to get off fast punches, too. He can get away from that jab, but he's got to get close to him to do that.
But if he allows Junior to use that jab, he's going to be second best a lot of spots tonight, because he's going to be a little too far away looking for those spots. See, Tracy's a shorter guy. He needs distance to get those spots. And that long jab does not give him distance.
Well, he's starting to step it up now. Now he's walking in a little more, you know? But he's got to get off his punches a little faster.
Both of these guys have been in situations where they've been in control of bouts, and then suddenly with one punch it turns around. That happened to Jones against Kennedy McKinnon.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what I think it is too, Bob? I think they both got a lot of respect for each other out there tonight. You know? They know each other pretty well.
See, Tracy did get inside there, but he put his left hand behind Junior and allowed it to be tied up. He can't do that. He's a shorter guy, maybe the stronger guy. He has to be able to keep his hands free. Wouldn't you say so, Lou, when he gets in there?
Absolutely. Junior was did a smart move that time. All he did was clamp down on his left hand, and Patterson had nothing.
No, because Junior knows that he's going to make his hay on the outside. He's satisfied to tie up Tracy on the inside.
Patterson trying to do more body work. Lou, it would be wrong of me not to bring this up. Last week on our show, Teddy mentioned that he had spoken with Vernon Forrest, who's been with Main Events, and you've trained him and worked with Vernon since his amateur days. What's the situation with you and Vernon Forrest right now?
As far as I'm concerned, he's still, I'm still his manager, along with Shelly Finkel, and I think we're moving him right. It's just a matter of getting him to understand what the matches have to be made, and we'll get together. I don't think there's any problem whatsoever.
All right, Lou, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Lou.
So far, it's been a chess match between Junior Jones and Tracy Patterson, with Jones using his jab as he said he would. Round number 3 underway. Patterson starting to do some body work. Did it in round number 2. And shot a right hand to the body just now. Take a look at some punch numbers through 2 rounds. And he said that Jones was going to use the jab. Of those 88 thrown, 66 have been jabs. 9 have landed.
Work out, fellas. Come on, work out. Right, step back.
Teddy, you kind of get the feeling in this fight that Patterson hitting on the break.
Understand? All right, here we go.
Bayless says, I'll handle the discrepancy. You have a feeling that this fight might plod along and then all of a sudden it's going to open up and someone could go.
That can happen at any time. I agree with you in this kind of fight. Tracy's fighting that way. And I don't know if that's good because he might find himself behind the 8 ball a little bit where he needs a knockdown or something explosive to get back in the fight. But he's staying on the outside. I think he should be using his jab a little bit more, taking away that taller guy's jab. Because Junior's looking to use that jab and then walk Tracy into right hands. Let Tracy take all the chances and then nail him coming in, which is a disciplined, smart fight plan for Junior Jones, who has a pretty smart trainer in this corner, Tommy Brooks, who also, of course, trains Mike Tyson now. And of course,
Step back. Clean. Here we go.
Junior Jones, I remember when he first started, when he first turned pro back 10 years ago. And he won his first world title. He was with a real good trainer, a friend of mine, Joe Ferriello, who unfortunately is no longer with us. He was passed away. He did a real good job at developing Junior Jones, Joey Ferriello did. And of course now Junior's in real competent hands with Tommy Brooks.
Well, hold on. Let him.
Of course, in Tracy Patterson's corner, there's good boxing people. Mike Hall, Brian Burke, who's been with Tracy his whole career. Mike Hall, who's trained Virgil Hill in the past. Former light heavyweight champion of the world.
Tracy and his dad, Floyd, had a falling out a couple of years ago, but Tracy said everything is fine. We love each other. We speak. Goes up and visits him in New York. Patterson again shoots the right hand to the body.
Work out.
Of course, talking about Floyd Patterson, adopted father of Tracy, they became the first father-son combination to win world titles. Back when Tracy won his first title, back in '92 with a second-round knockout of Jacob from France, when he won the WBC Super Bantamweight title.
A combination from Junior Jones. Very, very patient bout between Patterson and Jones, but I have a feeling that eventually the fireworks are going to come out. Round number 4 underway between Patterson and Junior Jones. Bob Hoppa along with Teddy Atlas here at the Orleans in Las Vegas. Max Kellerman and Andre Aldrich here as well tonight. Glad you can join us for Friday Night Fights on ESPN2. Jab numbers through 3 rounds. You see Jones said he was going to use the jab. He hasn't been very accurate with it. In round number 3, Jones landed 12 of 55 punches, Patterson 11 of 29. But here's what the judges may give that round to Patterson, or they could. You can make a case for it, because of the 11 landed by Patterson, 9 were power shots. He outlanded Jones 9-4 in power punches, and a lot of times the judges see the bigger punches rather than the subtle punches.
Well, quite honestly, professional scoring is really supposed to be carried by who lands the hardest, most effective punches. Not necessarily who lands the most punches, but the most effective. That's professional boxing. That's the big difference from amateur boxing. Amateur boxing, who scores the most? The professional, they want to see power. That's how they get people in the seats.
blood from the nose of Patterson. Teddy, you had it 10-9 for Jones. I gave the round to Patterson because I was swayed by that power.
Tracy's allowing himself to be smothered. He's getting a little frustrated here, a little over-anxious. Instead of jabbing his way in, when he finally gets in, he shoots too close. And he's not able to get off, and he gets tied up. And again, Junior's plan is real simple. Keep that long jab, that long stick, like the people used to say, the old-timers, Muhammad Ali's people, Drew Bundini Brown used to say. Use that long stick. He's keeping that long stick out there, trying to make Tracy take the chances and walk into right hands. Tracy needs to start using his jab, closing the gap a little behind that jab. Take Junior's jab away a little bit.
Right hand from Patterson.
So he's looking a little too much. It doesn't mean he's not going to land it somewhere along the fight. But if he doesn't, he's putting himself behind in the fight. That time he just missed with the right hand. You can see that's really what's on Tracy's mind. If this fight turns, it's going to be with the right hand. Tracy is trying to get that right hand over the jab. But he has to get close enough to do it. It's a matter of getting just to the right distance.
Work out of there.
And that means taking chances. He has to get close enough to Junior where Junior can hit him. And just before Junior starts the jab, they have to start the right hand over.
Patterson just missed with his left hook.
Because it makes sense for Jones to fight this fight. On the outside, he's the smaller guy. 27 of his fights, 119 pounds or less. And another 20 fights, 125 pounds or less.
Back up.
Well, right now, Jones is using his jab and controlling Patterson.
Well, if you're the guy with the longer jab, you're supposed to use that jab. And that's what Junior Jones does here. He uses that stick, keeps Tracy outside. And then when all of a sudden Tracy tries to reach in a little bit, the right hand is right there.
Well, in round number 4, Jones threw 34 more punches than Patterson. Outlanded him by 6. Round number 5 underway in this 10-round featherweight bout between a pair of former 2-time world champions, Junior Jones, Tracy Harris Patterson.
I was talking about the weights before the end of the last round. Jones being the smaller guy, Tracy being the bigger guy. 34 fights of Tracy Patterson. He's been 128 pounds or more. His heavy has been 135 pounds. The problem is, to use that strength, he needs to get close. Jones is tall.
See the numbers through 4 rounds. Of the 38 connects by Jones, 24 were jabs. Patterson has a 22-14 edge in power shots. Through the first 4 rounds of the fight, Jones has thrown 121 more jabs. He landed 20 more, though.
Even though Jones has been a smaller guy, won his first world title, of course, at bantamweight, he has huge shoulders, punches shoulders. Reminds you of Tommy Hearns, or if you go further back, the great Emil Griffith, who was a 5-time middleweight champion. Those big, gigantic shoulders and that V sort of frame. Junior Jones. Of course, you can get good punching power with those shoulders. And when you're a tall, wiry guy like Junior, Bob, you get good leverage in your punches.
Work out.
Tracy's starting to close the gap a little bit now. But what he shouldn't do is put the hands behind Junior. Then he can't use them. And he wants to use them when he gets in there.
It's Jones who's effective on the inside.
Well, Tracy allowed his hands to get behind Junior, where he couldn't use them instead of rotating his shoulders and punching. And of course, he works so hard to get in there, you want to keep your hands free and make the most of it. Because otherwise, you're on the outside dealing with this again.
Left and right from Jones. Jones will turn 29 in December. Patterson will turn 35 in December. Jones figures that will play a part in this fight as well. He says, hey, the other guy's older than me.
Right now, Junior is starting to step it up a little bit, getting more successful on the offensive side. He's got to be careful, though, that he doesn't get too close to Patterson and allow Patterson in position where he can land something. Of course, Junior Jones' only losses, his 4 losses, he's been stopped all 4 times.
Patterson has been knocked out once by Goyo Vargas 2 fights ago. Well, Jones is sticking to his game plan, and through 5 rounds, he is in control. So far, Junior Jones has used his jab to outwork Tracy Harris Patterson. Bob Popple along with Teddy Atlas. We start round number 6, and Teddy in between rounds 5 and 6. Tommy Brooks with some interesting advice for Junior Jones.
And that was it. You just saw it. It didn't work quite right, but he had a good idea. He told him 2 things. One, you can win the fight with just this, and he pointed to his left jab, his left hand, and he's right. He said, now you got him looking for that jab so much. Show him the jab and step to the right and hit him with the right hand. He tried it, but it was a little too far away. That time he got hit with a right hand by Tracy. Tracy's trying all night long so far to get close enough for that right hand. And this is the first time that he was able to land it early in the round. Tracy has to build off of that because I believe he's pretty well behind right now, allowing Junior to dictate the kind of fight that he wants, which is on the outside. And the problem is Tracy's looking for that right hand so much that he's over anxious. He's overshooting the man. You see him that time, he ran right into him, Bob. He's so anxious. He should be using that jab to set up the right hand. He's looking for one shot too much.
What do you think he should do? Like double that jab up, you know, pop it out a couple times to work his way in, right?
He should, first of all, he should inch his way into the right distance and then double it up because he's got a tall guy in there. He needs two jabs to close the gap with a tall man.
As you saw, Teddy has a shutout. I gave round 3 to Patterson. But Jones has been in control, and Jones would just as soon let this be a boxing match for 10 rounds. He feels that if it's a 10-round boxing match, he's going to win.
See, Tracy does get close. He has to stay there because otherwise he's outside dealing with that long jab again. See, we said earlier when Lou Duva was here, there's 2 ways to take away a man's jab. One is with your own jab, the other is with a counter right hand. Tracy's trying with just the right hand. When you're looking for one thing, well, it makes it easier for your opponent to avoid that one thing.
28-year-old Jones just became a grandfather. He has a 1-month-old grandson, Levon Keith. His stepdaughter, his 19-year-old stepdaughter, just had the child. So Junior says it's tough to believe, but I am a grandfather. His wife Yvonne is here too, but she's in the bathroom. So she never will watch the fight. She's been telling me for 30 fights now that she'll sit ringside and watch it.
Again, Bob Tracy, a little bit better this round. He's putting pressure on. He's starting to get a little closer with that right hand, but he should be a little bit more effective on the inside by keeping his hands free. He's not able to do what he should be doing when he finally gets close. Although this is a better round for Tracy, just the pure pressure has allowed it to be a little better.
Jones slipped there. That's a slip as we hit the end of round 6. Bob Popple along with Teddy Atlas back in Las Vegas. Tracy Patterson, Junior Jones begin round number 7. No knockdowns in the fight. Junior Jones has used that thing, the left jab, all night long, and Patterson has not been able to get within range in this fight. In fact, Jones has thrown 161 more jabs in this fight. Take a look at the total punches in the fight. Of the 310 thrown by Jones, 208 are jabs. Of the 73 landed, 36 are jabs. Patterson has had the edge in the power shots, but too few.
Oh, it's the back clean, guys. There we go. There we go.
Even though both guys' styles are really different, both guys' careers have a lot of similarities. Both former two-time world champions. Both as amateurs were 2-time New York Gold Glove champions. And both fine young men. Real good people, these two guys. They really are. They're real gentlemen. They're real quality people.
Let him up. There we go. Let him up. Watch it, guys. Watch it now.
You never hear anything bad about Tracy Patterson or Junior Jones. Both family men.
Well, let's face it. Those people that don't follow boxing that closely think all the boxers are like Mike Tyson, when in fact 97% of them are just the opposite.
Absolutely right.
They're hard-working guys trying to make a living. They're very nice from the most dire of backgrounds.
One other similarity with these guys, they both have fought 7 past or current world champions.
Work out of there.
And right now, again, Tracy is allowing one hand to go behind the taller guy. And he shouldn't do that. He should keep his hands free when he gets inside. And part of that, there he is. That's what he needs to do, is keep those hands moving. Again, he put his left hand behind Junior. He allowed Junior to do what was good for Junior, which is get some relief on the inside with the shorter man and maybe the stronger man. Junior's pot-shotting with that right hand, and that's what's going to happen when you have a good jab, Bob. See, now he's able to get spots with that right hand. If it's not straight, he's able to throw that uppercut. Because he creates distance with the jab, he gets his opponent a little frustrated, reach in a little bit, take chances a little bit, and then you got room for those right hands. It starts with the left.
The carrot for these two, especially Junior Jones, for the win, it could be a shot against Prince, Nassim Hamed. We hit the end of round number 7. Thanks, guys. I thought Max was going to say Pernell Whitaker, fighter of the 90s. What a career he had. Who do you like in the big fight tomorrow night?
Well, I like, believe it or not, I like Evander Holyfield. Believe it or not, I disagree with Max. I like to know what number cream Max uses as far as, you know, for the son-in-law. Is it number 8 or is it number 20? But I like Evander Holyfield. Or Holyfield.
Well, I predict Evander Holyfield wins in a 10th round stoppage.
I think that Evander Holyfield is going to do what the New York Yankees did. He's going to be the fighter of the decade.
Well, he won the title in October of 1990 here in Las Vegas against Buster Douglas. And Evander Holyfield has a chance to close out the decade as the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Lennox Lewis is a 2-to-1 favorite. I saw on Sports Center earlier tonight they had a poll on ESPN.com, and it was running 60-40 in favor of Lewis as far as the fans were concerned. Right now, through 7 rounds, Junior Jones is just controlling Tracy Patterson, and he's just pumping the jab out, and Patterson has had no answer for it.
I'm surprised that Tracy hasn't done 2 things. One is to use the jab to take Junior's jab away. He knew, just as we knew, that Junior's main part of his fight was going to be conditioned on that left jab. So I'm surprised that Tracy didn't come in here in his mind to use his jab to negate that a little bit. Also, I'm surprised Tracy hasn't punched inside more or kept his hands free inside a little bit more. See, there's what we talked about in the setup piece when we did that video, Bob. That sometimes Tracy stays outside, gets a little too defensive, and allows his man to kind of paint a little bit. Move his hands around and then get out.
Patterson finally getting in some type of range, and Jones holding on.
But it's one punch, and then he allows himself to fall in and get grabbed. He needs to keep himself free where he can come back with that hook after the right hand.
Yeah, that's one thing we have not seen really from Patterson, is that hook.
And by not using his jab, Bob, he's allowing Junior defensively to look for that right hand. Junior has to look for a left hook like that. Maybe the right hand could sneak in. You don't want to be one-sided. You don't want to be one-dimensional. Your opponent only has to worry about one hand. Well, then it's a lot easier to get away from that punch. He has to worry about both sides. You have a better chance of landing. And he has a difficult chance of getting away. You can see what's on the mind of Tracy. Right hand. He wants to land that right hand so much that he's not making adjustments to the jab.
No, he has allowed Jones to establish his jab.
Jones has done a good job, and you have to give him credit. And Tommy Brooks, his corner man, they came out here with a specific fight plan. Use that jab, use your height. And he's doing it.
You got to keep him up.
Patterson really low with the shot.
You hear me?
It's a hard warning. He'll take the point away, Kenny Bellis. The next time it happens. You know, it's interesting, Teddy. When you talk about fights, whether it was De La Hoya, Trinidad, you know, you kind of got into the boxing aspects of it, but everyone's opinion on this fight, everyone has it sort of as a toss-up. The opinion is, well, which Holyfield is going to show up? It's kind of an interesting, intriguing fight because of not the typical reasons.
Yeah, which Holyfield's going to show up and which Holyfield is still around. That's the key. Is he an old man, or does he still have a little bit left in the tank? That's the real question here. Most people don't feel that are picking Lewis, obviously, don't feel there's a lot left in the 37-year-old Holyfield. There's that right hand, finally. But again, he was far, he was reaching, so he wasn't balanced to come back with the second punch. Tracy Patterson, that is.
The fact that Jones has only landed his jab at 16% is not a big factor. It's the fact of, as we just showed you the numbers, how many more he's thrown. And that's meant that he's been able to control this fight.
Stop punching, stop punching.
You know, it's a funny thing now. I think that Tracy, I thought coming into this fight that Tracy should not look for the right hand so much. He should have used the jab and set it up. But now, if my scorecard's right, he's so far behind, he needs that right hand. But still, he have a better chance to land it if he uses that left hand.
You have it 79-73. I have the same card through 8. Hey, it's very interesting because a lot of the boxing press that's here for the big fight tomorrow night is here tonight. A lot of boxing people are here tonight, and everybody expected a knockout in this fight, and everyone expected probably a shootout, but really hasn't materialized. And you know, you got to give Jones credit for sticking with his plan, and everyone wanted to know how much over the hill either one of these guys are, and Jones appears that he might be less over the hill.
Or he has the style that allows him at this point in his career to be more effective. Because he's got a guy who's a little bit slower and a guy who's older. Let's face it, Tracy Patterson's 34, Jones is 28. This is a 6-year difference. So he probably might have a little bit more or less. Also, Tracy's been in a lot of fights. He's been in 69 fights. But I think the styles have something to do with it too. Because Tracy a little bit slower, shorter. Very difficult for him to get inside with Junior with that tall jab.
Well, Jones said it. He said, listen, overall, he felt that he had been in against the better competition. He said to us yesterday, I'm 6 years younger. And he said, Patterson has 84 more rounds of wear and tear on his body than I do as a pro.
Well, both guys have been in there with top competition. There's no doubt about that. As we said earlier, both guys have fought 7 current or former world champions. They've been in there with the top of the class.
10th and final round still to come. Junior Jones controlling Tracy Patterson through 9.
Tracy, you got
when you come out.
You got to put punches together, brother. You got to get this guy
to the corner of Tracy Patterson, who is elected to stand between rounds.
Yes, you behind.
You hear me? Let's get this guy. Serious.
Yes. All right. Keep your hands up and keep your hands moving.
Well, Patterson has tried to set up the right hand all night, Teddy, but they've been few and far between.
Yeah, when he's finally gotten it, he's been reaching a little bit and he's out of position. There it is. He finally landed that right hand, but Junior was pulling away from it, and Tracy was not in position to come back with a second punch. And then, of course, it was back to jab haven for Junior Jones.
Patterson has only landed double-digit punches in 1 round. That was round number 3. In fact, the most he landed in any other round has been 8. Jones has been in double digits in every round except round 1. And he's done it with the jab. See the numbers from round 9. I think when Patterson watches the tape of this fight, he's going to kick himself as to why he didn't do more jabbing of his own.
Here we go.
He's a real competitive kid. He's a real good kid. Both guys are good men. I shouldn't say kids. But that's what happens when you start getting a little older, like I am. Start calling everybody a kid. But I'm sure that he's going to be mad at himself that he did not use that jab enough.
Well, Prince Nassim Ahmed has the WBA and WBC featherweight championships, and Junior Jones could be a guy that is going to get a look.
Yeah, he could be. There's no doubt about that. He has the credentials, he has the past. They can, as you say, they can sell that fight. He's been coming off some wins. Junior Jones came off a big win in his last fight, of course, over in England when he was behind. And he pulled that fight out of the fire. Came from behind in the 11th round to knock out Richard Everett. He was 16-1. And he was down in the first round to do that. That was back, of course, back in April of this year. And he did it in hostile territory over in England.
No wrestling. Here we go.
So he can win on the road. So of course, if he had to fight Mr. Hamed in England, he already showed that he can not only win over there, but he's marketable over there. They know him.
Watch your hands, fellas.
Well, the jab has been the story of the night for Junior Jones. He said he would keep his focus and jab, and he's done it all night long.
Oh, he has. He's fought a real disciplined fight, and that's why he's winning the fight right now. It wasn't a matter of being proud. It wasn't a matter of proving anything. It was a matter of taking advantage of what his advantage was, which was height and a little bit of speed, and maybe a little bit of youth. Tracy's still having hope for that right hand. But he's looked for a lot of swelling under the right eye now, and both eyes of Tracy, actually. Not that it's going to matter now because we're in the last round.
Patterson said he would knock Jones' block off.
And maybe that's why he did.
Jones said, I don't care about a knockout, I just want to beat this guy. They exchanged big shots, too little too late for Tracy Patterson. And there's the bell to end it. Two good friends in a hard 10-round fight, but it was Junior Jones using the jabs. Let's take a look at the punch numbers landed by round, and a glaring discrepancy in favor of Junior Jones. He did it predominantly with the jab, grossly outlanding Patterson in this fight. Teddy's scorecard. Teddy, you and I have it lopsided, 99-91. Here's Jake Gutierrez.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 10 rounds of boxing here at the Orleans, we go to the scorecard for our decision. Judge Al Siciliano scored this bout 95-95. He saw it even. Judge Patricia Jarman Manning scored it 97-93, and Judge Dolby Shirley scored the bout 100-90. All in favor for the winner by majority decision, Junior Poison Jones.
Teddy, 95-95.
What are they drinking? Is that water they're drinking there at ringside, or is that something a little stronger?
Hopefully,
Jesus.
Hopefully that is not a harbinger of things to come tomorrow night. Well, Junior Jones earned the win, with all due respect to Tracy Harris Patterson, and he gets the decision here tonight in Las Vegas. Maybe a big fight against the Prince coming up next.